Got a beverage?
I will have a beverage. Cheers.
Crack yourself up, little baby boy. Two little baby boys.
Two little bev boys with the bevs. Cheers. All three cameras.
All three of you. You're fucking welcome.
Mm.
That felt very aggressive.
Yeah. Adam could do like a weird pan across where like he pans across my hand across all three frames.
Now he has
I'll start
to.
from here. I'll go, whoa.
Oh, wow. Now
There
he
you go.
has
There
to.
you go, Adam.
Sorry, pal.
Have fun with that.
Just use the Premiere Pro track thing. I don't do any fucking...
Yeah, but across all three frames. See, look at this. Oh,
I see
look,
what you're doing.
It's like going across all three.
Yeah. And can we add in a whoosh noise, maybe?
Get a multi-camera track. I'm so fucking keen for this episode.
So keen. All right, in 3, 2. Hey guys, welcome back to the Outriders podcast, official podcast of digital and creative media works, where each week we take something from pop culture and try to break it down to better understand it. My name is David.
My name is Ben.
Yo, we're back, baby.
Oh my god.
Can't stop us, bro. We got this momentum happening right now.
We got something going
I'm
on.
about to go on holiday again, so the
So
momentum's
gonna die.
Sorry about it. I'm keen as hell for this week, though, man. I'm real jazzed.
Yeah, I didn't think we were even gonna do this because I didn't even know if you were gonna play this game.
Yeah, well, I hadn't intended to, and then...
No.
Well, I mean, we'll get to it in a minute of, like, how I discovered it, but then I suggested it, and you were like, fucking yes,
I was like,
please.
yeah, absolutely.
Because there's a lot of stuff going on, because this week we are talking about the design of the Untitled Goose game.
Whoa.
Sorry, an Untitled Goose game. The developers were very specific about that.
Right.
It's an...
It's not just Untitled Goose Game.
It's an Untitled Goose game.
An Untitled.
Not the Untitled Goose game, an Untitled Goose game. So.
Yeah, because it's an Untitled Goose Game.
And it's a 2019 stealth puzzle game developed by Melbourne studio House, where you play as a goose who bothers people.
Oh boy.
And it's extremely good.
It's so good.
I love this video game so much.
I bought this game when it came out. So, first of all, the trailer for this game dropped, I want to say, like, earlier in the... Oh, like, last year, during one of the Nintendo Directs. Just cold open, just, like, this fucking goose. And everyone's like, what the shit? And then it's just, like, an Untitled Goose Game. And everyone's like, is that a working title? They're like, nope.
That's what we're calling this one.
And like since then, they did a second trailer where they like announced like the release date, and that just got me so jazzed. I was like, oh my god, like I need this fucking game.
I'd never. Okay, interesting.
Fun fact: it released on the same day as the Zelda Link's Awakening remake.
I bet it knocked it out of the
and
charts.
everyone's like, oh fucking rest in peace, Zelda. You have no
Wish.
chance.
Apparently, the whole internet knew about this except me. So I'd never heard of this game. And
Really?
I was reading through Vice Games, which used to be Waypoint, and there was an article by Patrick Klepek titled. The title of the article was Untitled Goose Game is like playing Hitman as a goose. And I read the article and I was like, I have to buy this video product and play it on my digital device.
Yeah, so I think there's a weird like
Sorry, that was by
cultural...
Austin Walker, not Patrick Klepek.
There's like an interesting like cultural phenomenon going on with this game where when it was like announced and like the trailers came out, everyone was like, oh, that's like a silly game. Like, look at that silly game.
Mhm.
But then when like it came out and people like started playing it,
Mhm.
it just fucking exploded.
Mhm.
Like the memes, there's just memes everywhere.
Yeah, well, the internet's gone crazy.
The
for
internet
it.
loves this goose,
And
man.
I had not fucking heard about it until I read this article, because I'm not really on the internet or social media.
And because it's a Switch exclusive, I think.
I think it's on... it's on Epic Games,
No?
because I heard about that.
Okay.
Yeah, people aren't
So I
happy
think-
about that one.
Interesting. It must have been revealed during the Nintendo
I think
Direct,
it
because that
was.
was definitely the first, because like
Well, it's
definitely
also
the first time.
Very much a Switch game, I think, in a
Yes,
lot of ways.
it's very much a
It's a
Nintendo
game,
kinda.
and we'll get to it after the summary, but it's a game that I have it on my Switch, and I'll walk up to people, like, I was at the office, and I
You'd be
was
like,
having
hey, check
lunch,
this game out.
and I was like, check this fucking game out, I'm a goose, and everyone is instantly delighted by it.
Yeah.
Instantly.
I walked into work the day that the game came out, and one of the guys who I talk to occasionally about games, he was like, hey, Ben. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, did you get that Goose game? And I was
Yeah.
like, yeah. He's like, I fucking knew it.
So good. It's so
I was
good.
like, I feel attacked right now. I
I'm
sat down and did my work.
I'm just so excited to talk about this fucking goose game. Okay, let's get to the summary. It's pretty short.
It's pretty short.
You play as a goose in an English village. Initially, you bother a farmer, completing a list of arbitrary tasks, and as the game progresses, you disrupt the town further and further, causing mayhem everywhere you go. The goose eventually enters a miniature model of the village and steals a bell. You head back and learn the goose has stolen many bells prior to the start of the game. And that's the credits.
Do you want to know the best part?
That's
Is
the
that when you start the game, you can actually go down and see all the bells
Oh.
because you start in the same place.
Yeah.
So when I started the game, I walked down and saw those bells. I was like, what the fuck? Like, what are all these bells?
And then at the end.
I completely forgot about it until the very end when I was like running back to my home and I was like, oh, he's done this. There's so many bells.
Mind blown.
He's done this so many times.
Amazing. And if that ain't set up
They
and
keep
payoff,
fixing the thing and he keeps tearing it down.
it's amazing.
It's also the reason I was like, why do all these people have no Goose signs? Just I was like, why do they all have them prepared? And in the end, you realize, oh, because this fucking
It's
Goose.
Goose keeps taking the bells.
He's a serial bell stealer.
He's a serial bell thief. And if that isn't delightful and charming, I don't know
love
what
it
is.
so much.
There's something very satisfying about playing as an asshole goose doing minor bad stuff to people. I enjoyed bullying that kid so much.
Oh my god! So I spent a long time fucking with that kid.
In real life, I would never bully anyone. But in this video game, bullying that child as a goose gave me so much catharsis.
I think my favorite part.
I was like, fuck you, and your fucking soccer ball.
I think my favorite part is when you've got the bell and you're running past and like everyone's chasing you
the whole
down.
village.
The kid is standing literally in the way, like there's no way around him. And you run up to him and he's like, oh, the bell. And he chases you for like half a second and then gets scared of you and runs away.
He's scared of Goose.
I was like running with this bell and he's like, oh, I'm the bell. And I'm like, honk. And he's like, never mind.
What goose? I've never heard of a goose.
It was so funny.
Dude, it is just there is something about, I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into making it that way, but there is something about bullying that child that made me so fucking happy.
Did you make him wear the wrong glasses?
I did it all.
Oh my god.
Actually, we'll get to that in a minute because there's some stuff about this game that's kind of interesting from a mechanics perspective that contributes to the feeling of being this naughty goose.
I have a lot of thoughts about
Yeah.
why this game is so good as well.
Should we start with the Hitman comparison? Because that was where I was introduced to the game by Austin Moore.
Sure, we'll start with that.
And then we can kind of see where it takes us. So, in Vice Games, which used to be Waypoint Radio, Austin Walker wrote the article that I mentioned earlier that introduced me to the game. So I'll read you a quote from that article. He says, quote, other more complex tasks require you, as in Hitman, to pay attention to the way items, NPCs, and the environment interact with each other. These objectives, like making someone repurchase something they already own, are where the game's design shines most, as your puzzle solving takes on a hurried and improvisational character. Maybe you need to issue a well-timed honk in order to shock someone into making a mistake, but that honk grabs the attention of someone else nearby, and suddenly you've got a pair of glasses in your beak and a woman with a broom chasing you out of her shop. End quote. I think the difference between this and Hitman, if that comparison is in fact apt, is the kind of fail states you experience. So in Hitman, when you fuck up, usually you die, or you get full of bullets, and you restart the level, or buy a checkpoint or whatever. In the Goose game,
you continue, but you finish the level with a lower score.
Yeah. Whereas in the Goose game, you just get shooed away, and then eventually, if you wait long enough, the villagers will kind of reset all of the chaos.
The world, yeah.
And they obviously have their loops in the game, similar to how characters have loops in Hitman. But obviously, in this game, it's much more sort of surface level, there's way less depth. But there's just enough complexity, I feel, when you interact and disrupt the loops, that it always feels like I've just gotten away with some mischief. Like, it never feels like I've, done a video game. It always feels like I've been a naughty goose and gotten away with it. Do you know what I... it's a different kind of... Whereas in Hitman, you have this sense of, being this badass assassin who's orchestrated this plan, and when you pull it off seamlessly, it's like, I am a god. And then when something goes wrong, you feel like you have the power to kind of overcome that error and sort of... There's something very satisfying about the improvisational thing in Hitman where you can kind of correct your mistakes if you're good enough. Whereas this doesn't have that. It's more like...
If you fuck up, it's a very steep cliff you fall off.
Yeah.
But you'll always fall off. And
then you immediately... and then in Goose Game, you immediately come back and you can kind of retry very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And, apparently there are, canon ways to complete certain tasks in the game, but I've discovered that you can do a lot of it however you want.
So that article's interesting how it sort of talks about Hitman... and the puzzle solving aspect of Hitman, because there's this idea of this distinction between, this has sort of been talked about by a few people, sort of extra credits, and Errant Signal have made videos about this, but the difference between a puzzle and a problem, and solving a puzzle and solving a problem.
Solving a puzzle, okay.
So if you think about a jigsaw puzzle, just as the most, I don't know, generic form of puzzle. You have all the pieces in front of you. It's just about putting them in the right place. and there's a single solution to a jigsaw puzzle.
Yep.
Once all the pieces are in the same place, you solve it. You can't it's like against the rules, or it's not part of the jigsaw puzzle to go off and print out extra pieces and fit those pieces in.
You can't solve it wrong.
Yeah, you can just fail to solve it. Whereas a problem and problem solving there's a problem, and usually, people will be like, oh, it's like a puzzle, but the difference being that a problem usually has multiple solutions, and it's not a case of here's all the pieces in front of you. It's a case of you have a set of tools and you have a set of abilities, and you just need to apply some subset of those abilities to solve the problem in some way.
An allegory or an example that I always hear about in game design is a problem would be like when you're in primary school and you were given a bunch of matchsticks and glue and scissors and sticky tape, and you had to build a bridge for a car to roll across. It's all of the subset of those tools the game gives you at your disposal, how you solve that problem.
Yeah.
Whereas the puzzle is there is one answer to a puzzle.
Yeah. So games like Hitman, they are kind of a mix of puzzle and problem solving. I kind of think more problem solving because you, as Agent 47, you have a known set of tools that you have. The puzzle-y element is usually in the sense of the interactions with the AI and how they move and things like that. But generally, you're solving a problem, which is your mission, and you're using the tools you have to solve it, as opposed to, I don't know, Braid, which is very much a puzzle game.
Yeah,
where there's a solution, and there's not really, you can't really play around and create other solutions.
You have to find the solution.
Yeah. So with Goose Game, why I think, and this kind of comes back to the pacing and the way it sort of structures, where you have this list of to-do items, and you have to do all of them except one to unlock the next, or to unlock the final one, and then move to the next area.
Yeah.
And that list of to-do items is normally, it's got a mix of just pure problems and puzzles.
Yes.
So the missions, the to-do list items where it's make a picnic, collect all these items and put them in an area. That's very much a problem. That's not a puzzle. You know exactly what you need to do.
It's
you know the solution. It's just, I just need to get all this stuff, but it's how do I do it?
Very often it's where is it? How do I do it? How do I get away with doing it?
Yeah.
What am I? And you have to use everything in the environment to make it happen.
How do I get away with it without getting spotted? Because of course, if you get spotted, they come along and just take all the shit back.
Yeah, or maybe part of your plan is to get spotted, so you can do it's sort of, you use the tools at your disposal. Those are all sort of tools you can bring to bear on the problem.
Whereas a very puzzly solution is, let's say, in the third area with the two gardens. The final one for that is make someone cut the prized rose, and the only solution to that is move the prized rose, peck at the hedge, and then just wait for the lady to accidentally cut the rose. There's one solution to that. You just have to figure it out. So it's not an application of your abilities. It's recognizing, if I peck this, she comes along and fixes it, and I can now move this, because before it has the thing in front of it. Okay. When that's revealed, that's revealing the final puzzle piece. That's going, now that I've picked out the last piece in the box and I've got one space left, I know where this piece goes.
And a lot of those particular puzzles in the game rely on you predicting how the villagers will react to things you do.
Yeah. And
there was one or two of them, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but there was one or two of them where I would never have guessed I only Googled 2 or 3 solutions for this.
Casual, I Googled none of it.
Wow. I'm bad at games. But I just couldn't work it out, and there were things I would have never thought of, because I'm I wouldn't think the villagers.
What ones? I'm curious.
I can't remember. I didn't write them down. I would have to go have a look.
Because there were some which I couldn't do, and I'm glad that I didn't, that you could miss one of them.
Yeah,
you could do all of them but one, because there were some
yeah.
that I legitimately could not figure it out.
Well, I got to the point where I was I'm going to do this 100%. So that was kind of where I then got it. But I think, as an example of one of the problem-solving moments rather than the puzzle ones is where you have to get the kid to wear the wrong glasses. So, for instance, I took the bottle and waited till he was playing with the soccer ball, snuck up behind him, honked, he got scared and tripped, and I grabbed the glasses. But then the trailer shows the trailer shows the goose sneaking up behind him, pecking at his shoelaces to undo them, then honking, and then he trips, and then they grab the glasses. So even though it's like the same kind of outcome where it's like you have to get him to fall over to get the glasses, there are like myriad ways to make that happen. And it never felt like even the puzzles are the ones that feel kind of like orchestrated chaos.
Yeah, the ones that are like very much quite scripted. Yeah.
And
where it's like set up this position and then interact with a thing.
Like when you have
watch
to
the Rube Goldberg machine.
Yeah, when you have to wear the ribbon and then because you pretend to be the and it's
I
like
fucking love that ribbon.
like it's really cool,
Yeah.
but at the same time you're like it's just whatever the charm is of that problem solving, of feeling like you did something as this mischievous goose, it kind of loses something. Sure, it gains something else, but whatever that kind of whatever that Hitman thing is that feels like, oh, this was my idea or my solution.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't quite feel the same.
The game is fun when you, and I kind of had this when I sort of played for the first time. When I moved to the second era, this is a really interesting. I did a optional to-do list item, and it was like, you've done a to-do list item, and so I was like, oh, okay, let me check what the to-do list items are, and I hit like the to-do list item button, and because the game was like, you've just received an optional one, so therefore I'm going to move the menu to the optional one so you can see the one you've just received. All I saw was to-do list and then a bunch of hidden ones. And I was like, oh, do they just not tell you what to do from now on?
Interesting.
And so for the first like probably 20 minutes, I just fucked around. And I got like 2 or 3 of them where I was just like
crossing shit off.
Yeah, it was like, I wonder if I can make the kid wear a different pair of glasses. Wouldn't that be funny? And I stole his glasses, because I saw the glasses. I was like, his glasses fall off. There's glasses. I'm gonna fuck with this kid.
Yeah,
I
okay.
spend most of my time fucking with the kid.
It's so
I made him
much
fall over in the water. That's one apparently.
Amazing.
Yeah. Like I was
didn't
just
know
like
that.
I was just chasing him around and he just fucking eats shit in the water.
I didn't get the nerve
And I
wet.
was
That'd
like,
be great.
He's like, you got him wet.
I hate that kid.
I was like, I chased him into the phone booth, and he was like, and he calls up the shop owner. The shop owner comes up and opens the door, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking go in there. And so I did it again. Went and got in there, fucked around, and I was like, oh, there's a button here. Hit the button, get the goose onto the TV. And I was like, oh, cool. It was only when I came back to it, I was like, oh, there is actually a list of things I need to do.
That's kind of fun. Like it's interesting that the game is that well designed that you could start to connect the dots yourself.
And yeah, but in the fact that there are a lot of hidden ones, it's like if you wanted to keep playing the game after finishing it the first time, it becomes like almost entirely problem solving. And sort of like, kind of like sort of out of the box thinking, because you don't have an end goal. It's not telling you this is what you need to achieve. Go figure it out, which is kind of like a puzzle. It's here's a bunch of shit, cause havoc that you think would be funny,
and probably we're going to reward you for it.
Yes,
there's an element of that which I think that's what the early Hitman games, that's why they were so successful. Because you'd boot up a mission and you would not do the mission.
You just fuck around.
You'd be like, what can I make happen?
You're like,
get away with?
Yeah, what kooky shenanigans can I get
or
up to?
What's the most insane way that I can kill this target?
Yeah.
And you know, the later game, the new games have rewarded that with the episodic content and the way that they're built, and the fact that you can, and that there's player generated levels where people can really fuck around with that. So they clearly recognize that's the strength of that series. And this game is just like in its best moments, it is that to a fucking like to the nth degree, where the first time I picked up a bottle and I honked, and I was like, there are different honks.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's
I was
the
like,
thing.
what?
You can get like a lot of the game just exploring and trying different things. Your reward is just silly honks, but you're so down for it because it's like such a big part of the game. It's just the honking. When I got the fucking walkie-talkies, I was like, yes, I'm gonna do some long range honking.
Some honking, but there's there's little details in this game are fantastic. The fact that if you put the walkie-talkie in the water, it stops working.
Yeah,
like little details like that. I'm like, that's so dope. Where it feels like if you can think of it and do it, you can. But also you have to be conscious of the fact that this world kind of reacts a little bit like reality, or the video game logic is still there. Where like, yeah, if you honk into a bottle, it is louder.
It's gonna go honk.
But at the same time, it's going to go further because it's going to echo more, so more people are going to hear you. So yeah, you can scare the kid with it more, but you're also going to attract the shopkeeper's attention. And there's that push and pull of like, that stuff really feels intuitive and interesting. It gives you that philosophy and that sense of curiosity, which is why people you can show them that they're delighted by it, because they understand the rules immediately. They're like, yeah, it's an annoying goose in a village.
Yeah, because it's like everyone, there's that whole just joke of geese being the worst.
Because they are.
And now it's just like, you get to be the worst
They're
goose.
just real dumb and bad, and everyone can immediately understand the concepts behind it. I think where the game does kind of struggle to communicate what it wants you to understand is when it does need you to do that kind of puzzle solving. I honestly cannot think of them, but there was a few where I went, I can't work this out. A lot of them required the villagers. There was one in the pub where the villagers had to do something with boxes, and like I can't remember what it was.
I think I probably just skipped that one.
But like they needed to pick one of the boxes up. I couldn't work out how to get them to do it.
It's like you need to, I haven't done it, but I've seen a video of it where it's like you need to get in a box and they need to pick you up.
Yeah,
and I'm like, yeah,
I couldn't work out the motivation for them to pick up the box. And then like when I Googled it, I was like, oh, okay. But I didn't feel bad about it because I legitimately would have never thought of it. So it's that kind of thing. But I think if, the reason this game is so successful and is so accessible to everyone, like non-gamers, it's not a gamer's game, it's like a people game. I think that's why it's gripped the internet, because anyone can pick it up and enjoy it. And Hitman, to an extent, has some of those characteristics in the sense that you can watch someone play Hitman and be like, oh, it's
like watching a spy film.
Yeah, it's like watching a spy film. I think there's something about the problem solving that is just irresistible as a sort of a mechanic.
Well, even like this game, like Laura was watching me play sort of the last kind of like hour or so of the game, and it was just like, we were just like laughing at everything and just like bouncing suggestions and just like trying things out.
Yeah. You can get involved, and that was the fun thing. Like I was playing at a Dom's place and we had it on the TV, and she was like, "No, try this," and I was like, "I don't think that's gonna work." And then I did it. Something else random happened, and I was like,
"What the fuck?"
Like we couldn't find the toothbrush, and she was like, "Well, just." Like, I don't know, have a look and see what you think. It's in the fucking trash. Yeah. And then she's like, hey, you should put that apple, she's like, you should put the apple on the ground and trip the boy and make it fall into the rotten apple. And I did that for no reason, which is funny. And I was like, that kind of stuff is really kind of separates this for me from a game like I play a lot of sports games when I'm trying to like chill out. Yeah. So I'll listen to a podcast and play a sports game, because for me, sports games have like a lot of rigid rules. So it's like
it's easy to just like
easy to turn my brain off.
It's not real, like not surprising.
Yeah, and like I know I'm very familiar with football, so I play like a lot of FIFA or whatever. This is like normal white guy chat.
Fucking white dude.
So I listen to a podcast and play FIFA or whatever. And Dom will watch and be like, "Oh, you should have done this in soccer," but it's very different than, "Hey, try this and see what happens."
Yeah.
Or what about that? Like it's a very different kind of like. One of them is you're interacting in an environment with a set rules and kind of a container. The other one is like, this is a simulation of an old English village where you're fucking with people. Hey, what if you interact with this thing in this way and then this happened? Yeah. And it's more lateral thinking than it is literal. And I think that's kind of where games sometimes can be really jarring. So like Gears of War 5 just came out. That's a game that has a lot of literal thinking where it's like, okay, well, if you shoot the man in the head, does more damage or whatever. Yeah. And there's a lot of enemies in that game where they develop, it's kind of like any shooter, where they develop like an enemy that has like a shield on the front, so you have to flank them. Right. And it's like literal thinking.
Super gamey.
Very gamey kind of logic, whereas this is not that. This is like real life. If you were a goose, how would you fuck with people? And it's that it's that the levels of abstraction are basically zero.
Yeah, and even like even though it's like steeped with like stealth game mechanics, with like the routes that the NPCs walk and the view cones and stuff like that. It's
like an Arkham game in some ways.
Yeah, they managed to package it in such a way where it's a lot more. It's like obvious and it makes sense. So like in the garden with the guy who sits and reads the newspaper, his cycle is like every 7 seconds or so he'll like quickly like look behind the paper. Yep. And it's like, that's just on a cycle. So you learn over time to be like, all right, I can't gun it from top to the bottom without him spotting me. I gotta hide behind this hedge. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you're abusing view cones. Like that's like a quintessential stealth game.
But it doesn't feel like a
no, because it's like game. I can just hide behind this fence because I'm a goose.
Honestly,
behind this hedge.
That was one of the best things about Assassin's Creed Unity and its stealth mechanics, is that it kind of felt the same. It never felt like you were abusing. Sense. Yeah, you weren't like abusing a stealth mechanic. You were just like this dude.
This dude can't see me.
I don't know what it was about that stealth, but it very much reminds me of this, where there was something in its simplicity.
Yeah.
Whereas the Arkham games are like so complicated. The simplicity of that game where it was like, I'm not a super mega badass. I'm just a dude with a sword. I'm a French guy with a sword.
Yeah.
And I have to be like, I've got to time my runs quickly and get kind of the right angles and stuff. This game for me has that same sense to it. And it's weird to compare this to like Hitman and Assassin's Creed Unity because it's like you are a goose. But the gameplay philosophy is so much the same. And the developers have talked about it, and they're like, a big inspiration was Mario 64, to the kind of the exploration that you feel, and you just kind of, I think what they meant generally is you go into a level and there's like 10 objectives,
Well,
and
it's
you
like
just
Odyssey,
have to find them.
It's like Odyssey has a lot of...
That's a better example.
Yeah, Odyssey has like a lot of silly moons.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you do something weird, you get a moon.
It kind of feels like that.
Yeah.
But
it's just sillier.
But more genuine, because it's like a to-do list. Like, you're not getting... I think one of my problems with Mario games, I never finished Odyssey for the exact reason that... I don't want to get into it. For the exact reason that... it's the same reason I didn't finish 64 initially. Like, way back in the day. Like,
This is too much.
I don't like the collecting... Going to level, do all the thing, collect all the things to unlock the door to do the next thing. It's just not for me. Whereas this, it didn't feel like that. It just felt like, fuck with these people to get to the next
Here's
area.
your fuck list.
And every time I got to the next area, it felt like a delight to learn how I got there. Well, I trapped the woman in the garage, the shopkeeper.
And so she often,
And I was like, but like, I never expected the gateway to the next area to be whatever it was. It was always a pleasant surprise.
I found
Whereas
that,
with Mario, it was just spend the fucking stars on the door, and that doesn't excite me. Like, that doesn't excite me. Spend the moons on the
ship
boat
to go to the next area.
I don't give a shit. But like, when the interaction and the to-do list item is directly responsible for you unlocking the next area, it felt like I'd achieved something.
Yeah, and then like at the very end when you get the bell and you start heading back. And because when I was playing it, I found all of those sort of shortcuts that let you bounce around the map. And I was sort of joking. I was just like, oh, it's just Dark Souls with all the shortcuts. But when you get the bell, those will just lock off.
Yeah.
And like not only that, but like some gates like open and force you into certain areas which are like filled with people. And it's like so hectic. And it only takes like, I don't know, it took me like 10, 20 minutes to get back to the end with the bell. Like, it didn't take too long. Like, generally, if you get it stolen from you... Stolen? You're the one stealing it. If you get it retrieved from you...
If they reclaim it.
If they reclaim it, they just kind of put it somewhere. You can just grab it and try again. Like, it's the checkpointing in that area is very generous.
It's very generous. I was expecting it to be a lot harder.
When I got caught at the pub and I was like, oh, she's going to fucking take it all the way back. And she's like, no, she just put it on the table in the pub. And I was like, oh, okay, try again, I guess. Yeah,
making that fail state harder would have...
I think it would have
crappy because the momentum of that moment is kind of great,
and I think the ending is, I don't know, important to get to. Like it's not it's not like with Dark Souls where it's like the ending is like so hard to get to, but like the game would like know that when you get there, it's like I'm gonna give you a bunch of like heavy lore because you're probably invested enough. Mm-hmm. This, it's like no, the ending is just like a silly gag about the fact that this goose has done this numerous times. It's like everyone should be able to get that. We're going to be really generous with the checkpointing.
And I think that's important because what it feels like is... Because it's a game about you being a bit of a jerk who's a goose.
Yes.
And bothering these English people.
Yeah.
And the outcome of the game is you've been doing this for quite some time.
Yeah.
Like, it's just fun.
And they all just know you as that fucking goose.
They put up no goose signs and shit because they're sick of you.
Doesn't work.
Doesn't work because you're a fucking goose. And they don't take extra measures to stop you. They just are like, I guess we have to live with this goose. There's something charming about the fact that they don't like, put up like anti-goose spikes. They're just like,
no, stop it, goose.
Yeah, they're just like, stop it.
It's this weird like fourth wall break where they know that there's a human being controlling the goose who can understand no goose signs, but also they kind of know they're in a game, so they're not going to put up fences. They're just going to
put up signs.
Yeah, put up signs saying, "Hey, no goosey gooses."
It's funny.
Bloody boy, no goosing around.
Is it
video game player boy?
No goosing around is a fucking great name for a video game. That's what this game should be called. No goosing around. Maybe. Sequel.
I do like the card.
No goosing around Electric Boogaloo.
They should make the next one another Untitled Goose game.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I don't know. I think sometimes when we break apart games and we get into like the philosophy of like what makes them tick and what makes them really interesting, it tends to either be the gameplay mechanics or the story tend to kind of be one of the two. Sometimes we'll talk about the way that they integrate, and that's often kind of the real sweet spot of video games.
Yeah.
I think something like this is just a great example of a studio who went, we have a really dumb idea, because the idea for this game came from a Slack chat at the office where one person posted a picture of a goose and he was like, we should make a game about goose. Gooses are dumb. And then it was just them like listing dumb and fun things about geese. Yeah. Being like, geese have dumb feet. And one of them being like, their beaks suck. And then it's just the most wholesome Slack chat of your life. And then they made the game. And it just, it's the inception, the execution, all of it just feels like they went, the world's a really dark fucking place. What if you were just a bit of an annoying goose? And it's just charming in that way. And I think, you know, one of the thoughts that completely capitulates, summarizes exactly how I feel about it is from that article by Austin Walker. I think it's a good place to end. He says, quote, I mean, come on, it's 2019. How the fuck is this the first time I've gotten to be a mischievous goose? End quote.
This game is so like indicative of taking a concept and doing it well, because this has been done before. It's called Goat Simulator. Came out 5 years ago, and it was the same game, but it just didn't have this. Like it didn't have the heart, and it didn't have the character. And I think there's a bit of like timing in it as well. Like now, it's less Let's Players and more streamers. Just there's a lot of differences to where a game like this can come out and be interesting, and also just the fact that it is more of a game. Also,
the fact that it's the Nintendo Switch exists at all. That's where they've sold most of their copies.
Yeah, like it's a big drive. Yeah,
it's a huge drive.
It's not just like some PC game that you have to buy on Steam.
Because that's what Goat Simulator. You couldn't say that to a normal person. A normal person, you can't just show them Goat Simulator.
Yeah, because it's kind of silly and gross almost.
It is, and because it's internet funny. This is regular people.
This is actually funny.
It actually is.
Yeah,
it's not like cool meme funny. It just is funny.
Yeah,
and there's something really fucking wholesome about that I'm in love with. And yeah. Like these boys in Melbourne did some very good video games with a goose in it, and I don't know. I think the world could use more stuff like this in it. Do you have any recommendations?
I've just been playing a lot of Divinity Original Sin 2.
Yeah, you still on that?
I'm still on that. I did pick up Dead Cells on recommendation of someone at work, so I've started playing that. It's good fun. It's just like a roguelike, 2D side scroller.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Dead Cells. Dead Cells.
I did buy, and I'm waiting for Edward Snowden's memoirs.
Okay.
Just because I was like, it's $20, and people were like, it's an interesting thing. And I saw an article that was like, he gets literally no money for it because he can't legally. And I was like, that's kind of interesting.
Let me buy it.
I'm gonna buy it.
Absolutely.
But I'm gonna read that, and I'll report back on that.
Yeah, let me know how that goes. Or if you just want to find us on the internet, we're at Dcm.Works pretty much everywhere now.
Yeah,
we got all the handles.
Figured that out.
Or if you just want to find us centrally, Dcm.Works is our website. You should join our Discord if you want to chat with us and hang out and see what we're listening to, what we're watching. We're also on Medium now. We're writing articles from time to time and trying to sort of post there more often. We'll kind of be including some more content there. Otherwise, if you want to support us directly, Patreon is the best place to do that. Patreon.com/DCMWorks. Extra behind the scenes content, additional early access to things. You get a Patreon only shows, so part 2's post shows for After Artists. We're about to record one now. Things like comment response. You can suggest topics we should cover, and we've just finally added the tier where if you pay $100 a month, you can buy my Pokemon fan fiction book.
Well, no, you get the book. You
get it.
You don't have to then buy the book. Don't worry.
You get the book for free. So you can check that out.
Free
is a strong word.
Yeah.
You can check that out. And yeah, it helps support us, and you get a bunch of extra content. Shout outs to all of our patrons. They'll be in the credits of this episode. We literally could not do this without you. There are quite a few people that work on this now. So yeah, I think that's about it. Otherwise, if you want to follow us individually, I'm at Dcm.Pie.
I'm at Literal Citrus.
We'll see you guys next week.
David's going to take this phone call.
No, I'm not. It's a Victorian.
Okay, never mind. You get those?
Bro.
Jeez.